Hi everyone, my name is Lucy. I'm Designware's Digital Marketing Director, and today we're going to talk about the new templates that were released to Designware this week. And more precisely, that's 93 new headers, footers, media galleries, product lists, everything you might need to build an app or a website. So I'm here today with Jess. Jess is one of our designers, and she's been the main architect and designer behind those new templates. So today we're going to chat about your creative process, your inspiration behind some of those templates, and maybe a few tips for our users. How are you doing?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
Doing great. So can you tell us a little bit more about you, Jess, your background and everything?
For sure. So I'm currently a student actually at Sheridan, finishing my bachelor in interaction design. So that's where most of my background for my work at Designware comes from. And I also completed 2 years of visual creative arts.
Awesome. So can you tell us a little bit more about your objectives going into this project?
Yeah, so when we first began talking about the templates and working on them, my main objectives were to create something that was modular so that instead of creating entire pages as templates, we would create sections so that you could easily snap them together and mix and match them to suit your needs. And they also needed to be obviously very visually appealing and up to date with modern design trends.
Mm-hmm. That gives you so many more opportunities, I guess, when you're working on a project. Did you run into any challenges while you were assembling the templates in Designware?
There were 2 main challenges for me when I was building them. One was the assets themselves, so making sure the imagery was cohesive across all of the templates. Because there's 93 of them, we wanted them to all have the same look and feel, so they feel like they're from the same brand. And the other challenge was to make sure that every template was fully responsive and scaled properly across all devices, because they don't necessarily need to be used just for websites. They can be used for apps or something in between. So you need to be able to scale them from a phone all the way up to like a 4K TV.
Yeah, so that's a lot of different use cases that you have to think about. Pretty amazing. Can you tell us a little bit more about your whole creative process? Like, where did you start? What were the main steps in your creative process?
So anytime I start a design, I always start by working on paper. I find that it's the fastest way to get any bad designs out of the way, and also just to get a feel for my layouts and how I want things to come together. And then from there, I moved to Adobe XD to build mock-ups of the templates, which would have the actual colors and fonts and placeholder imagery in them. And then once we were happy with the templates in XD modeled up on various screen sizes, then I brought them into Designware and basically recreated what we had in XD, but with all of the correct imagery and making sure that everything was scalable.
Cool. Okay, let's go to Designware for a second. Have an actual look at those templates. Okay, so whenever you're in Designware, you can find those templates in the content menu here on the left. So you have a pretty broad selection. You have galleries, you have headers, you have banners, you have also more specific templates that use things like maps, for instance. So Jess, do you have any favorites?
Yeah, I have 3 favorites. One of them is from the hero banners, that one there with the waves on it. I think that one's really impactful as a first impression to your website. It's got a lot of great imagery and it scales really well across all devices. So I think users will probably find that one very appealing. So another one is from our captioned gallery. It's one that we called an offset template. So it matches this one. So I think they work really well together because of the water imagery that carries across both of them. But this one was one of my favorites to build actually because it presented some unique design challenges. But I really like the layout of the offset images. I think it's very unique in terms of our templates and the other ones that I've seen online. And I think it has a lot of different use cases. So it's very versatile for the users while keeping that interesting look. My third favorite is one of our quotes. So it's called Square Quote Cards. And I particularly like this template because I find it well balanced. So it scales nicely across all devices, but in particular with the balance of the text and the images, you're not getting too much text or too much image at any one time on screen, no matter what size you're on. So I find that one quite nice because of the balance it's achieved.
And what do you think would be the main use cases? Like obviously you can customize everything. Nothing is hardwired into the template. You could change the images. You can change the colors, the size of everything, the alignment, the fonts, whatever. But is there a use case that comes to mind in particular?
Yeah, so for these three templates, I thought they would work quite well for a media website or a blog website, particularly because of the pairing of the text and the imagery in the two templates below the header. So you could easily have different articles linked here and showcase them in quite a nice gallery showcase.
What was the most fun part of the whole project for you?
I had a lot of fun building the templates. I think my two favorite parts about it was one, being able to make something while I'm still a student that's contributing to the industry and to Designware's platform, because I think these templates are going to be really useful for people. And the other part was just having some fun and creative freedom to make some templates that might be a little more out of the box than what you would typically see, and really just stretching my skills as a designer.
Okay, thank you very much for taking the time and for the templates themselves. Just it was a great chat. Talk to you soon. Bye.